This is so weird, Matt. It's so weird. Like, I didn't get it. Like, I was just like, so I go in circles, I do this, and maybe I should have took an initiative on myself to, like, just, like, look up some stuff, but I was just like, no.
Welcome to the Spin Dash Retro Gaming Podcast. Prepare yourself for the joy of classic gaming, fired straight into your delicate little ear holes. Fire away.
Welcome back to the Spin Dash Retro Gaming Podcast. I do not have an intro prepared tonight, but joining me, failed basketball player and an off-key singer. Let's give it up for Nick and John.
All right. Wait, who's the off-key singer and who's the failed basketball player?
We both kind of could fit that mold because we both suck at basketball and we don't sing very well.
Mm-mm. I think it's because you guys. It's both of you. You guys have dualized, and you guys have joined. You've melded.
We're dualizing.
Like right now.
Yeah.
So, what are you guys drinking tonight? What do you got?
I got a lemon drop tequila with a splash of pomegranate.
Oh, man.
You're now a 43-year-old white woman that drives a Lexus.
God, I wish I drive a Lexus. I can't even afford a fucking Lexus. I had to fix my car because I got an accident and I got hit.
Uh-oh.
Joining us tonight, angry soccer wine mom, Nick.
Velour tracksuit.
Fuck you guys.
How was that jingling?
That's my ice in my drink.
Rattling his ice cubes.
Oh, it's wine. Wine mom is getting all uppity over there.
Yeah.
I'll cancel
tequila.
you guys. I'll cancel you.
We'll get there.
Yeah.
We'll get there. Before this show is over, we will be officially canceled. Somebody will have a problem with this show. I guarantee it. John, what are you drinking?
Dry January is over, fellas. We made it through. This household made it through the whole month without alcohol. And I had some good beers waiting for me, as a reward. So I'm having a Bissell Brothers Lux tonight.
Ooh, tasty.
Yeah.
Very, very nice.
What about you, Matt?
I have a rum and Coke.
There you go.
Straightforward.
Here's the thing. But here's the problem, right? I don't think I've had a rum and Coke since the Sonic episodes. And this is a game, the game we're going to talk about was made by Sonic Team. And we had nothing but recording nightmares with that. So we're not, this episode is like a 50% chance of seeing the light of day.
I'm actually happy to give it 50%. Like, I wouldn't even give it 50%. I'm like more 25. I mean, I'm sucking down this drink pretty quickly. I'm already halfway through, and I'm going to go on the second one here in a minute.
You'd be shit-faced before we get into the psychobabble bullshit, huh?
Yep.
Nice. Well, pickups. Might as well jump right into pickups. What you guys got anything good?
Nothing here.
I got a Retroid Pocket 2.
Ooh.
Yeah. Wanted to update my handheld retro gaming, just in case we had some obscure titles that I couldn't find on, one of the handhelds I have. And my old one was it was a little small to play a long game with, so I figured this one, it was a good deal that I got it for, and pretty stoked because it covers a lot more ground. So I'll be able to play a lot of games on this thing. I haven't even scratched the surface of it to set it up. I downloaded some ROMs and I got confused. And it was late, so I just turned it off.
Success is eluding you.
Yeah. What about you, Matt? What'd you pick up?
Well, this is going to be a long time until I have another pickup. But I had the itch one day. I was like, especially because of this game. I'm like, I got to buy a Saturn. It's got to happen. Now's got the time. I'm going to fork out and I'm going to buy a Saturn. And then I was like, but what good is that going to do me? Because you guys can't play Saturn games unless we find some of the one-offs that have been ported elsewhere. So I dialed it back. I'm like, what's going to be useful for this show? And then I got hunting around. And it's like, a lot of the games I want to play on Super Nintendo, I can't afford. Like I can't afford Chrono Trigger. Like I want to play that, never going to be able to afford it. So I forked out. I bought an FX pack. It used to be known as the SD to SNES, and then they got into like legal troubles with the SD card people. So they changed their name, but it's a flash cart for the Super Nintendo. So pretty excited about that thing. It's got something like 99.5% compatibility. There's only like 5 or 6 games the thing can't run, and it's only a matter of time until they figure out how to get them to run.
So you just plug a SD card into this cart, and it plugs into your SNES.
Yep.
Nice.
Yep. It's an upfront cost. It's definitely not cheap, but for the cost of 2 games that I want that I'll never be able to afford, I have it. So it was kind of I'm going to be needing more hardware as I go on, but all my costs seem to be going into software. So I'm like, let's stem this. Let's dial it back a little bit. Because I'd like to get I'd like another Dreamcast controller. I'd like some memory cards, but it's like that shit adds up. And if I'm forking out $30 a game here and there, it'll eventually add up. So it's like let's dial it back. So pretty pumped when it's coming from the Ukraine, so it'll be a bit, but excited to do some Super Nintendo.
Cool. Yeah. So is it having like a menu that you just pick down when you boot up the console?
Yep.
Nice.
Yep. It's got you can change the themes, but what I like about it is it's basically it runs off, and I can't remember how it actually functions, but it runs off like an FPGA, which basically is a chip that can pretend to be other chips depending on how they've programmed it. So what you're getting is really like there's a whole argument on whether FPGA is considered emulation or not. Most people, I think, consider it like hardware emulation because at a hardware level, it's pretending to be other hardware. It's the same concept that like Analog builds their stuff on, like the NT and I can't remember all the other stuff, but it's super accurate. Like I don't know if you can tell this apart from the actual real deal. I don't know if there's any difference, to be honest with you. So I'm pumped to play some fan translations. That's really the big reason why I bought it.
Yeah.
So
didn't somebody just put out a new NES game? It was like it was like an Indiana Jones type game. I mean, there are probably a few guys that are working on new old games, but I saw on YouTube that somebody made an NES game last year, and it was like a Mayan temple exploration one, and you looked like Indiana Jones.
Yes, and they ported that to a bunch of things, and I can't remember what it was called, but they had a Super Nintendo release too.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It was on a couple things, and I can't remember the name of it. Yeah, on the NES especially, the homebrew scene's pretty cool. Like there's a game that just came out like From Below. It's like Tetris, but there's like a squid or an octopus at the bottom that keeps like shuffling around and screwing with your blocks.
That's cool.
So, yeah, a lot of the homebrew and then the translation scene's really ramped up. So there's a lot I want to tackle.
Yeah.
I know my next pick, assuming the world doesn't collapse or assuming something doesn't change, my next pick is a fan translation. So, more to come.
I'm going to fake my own death before I have to play some of that crap.
I picked this game for you. I picked the game that we're going to talk about soon for Nick, and then the next game I picked for you, and then after that I feel like fuck you guys. I'm just going to we're going back to like Battle of Olympus style games where you guys hate your lives and you bitch. After what Nick put us through like last time,
I didn't put you through anything that you didn't love.
It was a dick kick. It was a thank you, man. Thank you, sir. May I have another?
Yes,
you're like Michael Shannon's character in Boardwalk Empire, Matt. You just need to flagellate yourself.
I'll flagellate myself
so you don't take it out on us with all these video games that are terrible hard.
So I'm bummed tonight. I don't have a game for us. I told you guys about this in the chat, but I figured I'd tell the listeners as well. I had this idea, and I'm going to redo it, and I'm going to incorporate it into a later episode. But I wanted to do something called Good Sega, Bad Sega, because John, you absolutely hate Sega, and you always run around like them, like they like beat up and murdered your family. and then Nick has like nothing negative to say about Sega.
Praises.
So the game I was going to do is I was going to pull, like, for you, John, quotes from, like, Hitler and Stalin and Ted Bundy and all these, like, murderous people, and then have Sega people and have you tell them apart. And then, like, on Nick's side, like, Gandhi and Martin Luther King and, like all these people that are heroes, and then Nick can pick apart the quotes. But I didn't get around. The problem is like all the interviews that like the Sega people give, the comments. There's not anything that's like I could leave this up for imagination. Like if only we'd worked harder, this project would have succeeded or something like that. And you're like, we can compare that to Hitler pretty well. Let's have John guess on that. So no,
yeah, you have to find some more of the mundane dictator quotes.
So that was
the
my.
fact that we're talking about dictator quotes and having it installed into our programming is kind of funny right now. Just heads up.
Say what?
You said having dictator quotes as a game and part of our games for the end of the show. It's kind of funny that we want to incorporate that in some form.
Well, the goal is to get canceled, right? So let's just ramp up that effort.
I mean, we're putting in good stuff too. Offsetting with Gandhi. Right? Yeah, come on.
That Gandhi. I'll find the most offensive Gandhi quotes.
Oh God. What is this turn?
So, before we actually do get canceled, do you want to get into the game of the week?
Wait, this was a game? Because I was confused the whole time.
This was a fantastic game that I picked for you.
I mean,
it was my
love
letter to you.
But that's about where my respect starts and stops at the same time.
Well, you are a bastard. And this week's game is Nights into Dreams for the Sega Saturn. Oh, yay! So, I don't actually know where to begin on this one. Like, we can go through our normal development and story, but then when we get into game mechanics, it's going to be like, holy shit, this thing's something else. So, do you guys know anything about the development of this?
I didn't do any. I mean, I played the game, but I didn't do any like background onto this at all. This was a unique one for you there, Matt. This was a really good one for you.
Because the problem is, like, John goes on and on. He's like, oh, you guys just picked the same games. I'm like, man, I want to play Super Metroid. And John's like, no, you're going to pick the same games. Oh, so I'm like, all right,
hey,
we'll go out of the box.
I said ones we haven't played. That was my stipulation.
Well, I haven't played this one. So I actually bought the sequel to it for Wii. And then right after that, Sega gave away a free copy of this. So I'm like, oh man, I'm not even going to play the sequel. I'm just going to make sure we all get the free thing on Steam, and then we have a way to play this Saturn game, and then we can incorporate a Saturn game into our lineup. So I'm like, yeah. So I haven't even played the sequel, or at least haven't put much time into it. But
are you going to play the sequel, you think?
Yeah, I've heard mixed things. We'll get into that. It's like one step forward, two step back kind of deal. But yeah, so this is our first Saturn game.
Saturn Cherry.
I can only think of a couple we'll actually be able to pull off, unless you guys really want to drop some coinage.
I'm trying to remember. Did you? I mean, am I the one to own a Saturn, or did you guys ever own one?
No,
oh, I never had one.
No,
so I had a Saturn.
They disappeared, man. Like in the Bangor area, Matt, when we were limited to our buying sources, like I don't think I ever saw one.
I never saw one in person.
Oh, you never?
That's not true. That's not true. Nikki's cousin actually had a Saturn out to camp one year, like just sitting there, and I don't know where the hell that ended up.
Yeah, it's like Hunter's like, hey, you had this.
They sold the camp. I'd be hunting down like, all right. Remember 10 years ago there was that Saturn? Where did it go? Freaking landfill. But other than that, like Saturn did not exist up here, or if it did, I don't know. I don't know anyone that had one. So Nick, you had a Saturn?
I had a Saturn. Yeah, I mean it was kind of like a throwaway machine. Like, I think we got it at. I think there used to be a retro game shop in Liston.
Yep.
And that's where we used to buy all our stuff. And I think me and my dad just picked it up one day. And we just had it. Like, we didn't have, like... It was like we had a couple shooting games for it. Like, I believe there's like a cop game, Virtual Cop or something like that. And I think I had Virtual Fighter for it as well. And then a Sonic game that I didn't care for because it's like introducing the 3D world of Sonic.
Oh, so Sonic Jam had a 3D part to it.
And I just didn't really get like it was right. I just didn't care for it. I was like, I didn't really care for the system or the games I really played for. I did like the Virtual Cop because I just used the gun. It was kind of like playing an updated version. It was like having your arcade right at home. But other than that, I wasn't huge into it. I liked Virtual Fighter. It was kind of like a console, like, oh, it's there. You want to play this game? We have this one. We have like a couple games for it, and that was it.
I think the problem that we had is, one, you really didn't have a good way to know about what's good and bad. So, like, Saturn's got a great library, but how would you ever know? And the other thing, too, is, like, we didn't get the games that they got in Japan. Like, the Japanese Saturn lineup, oh, man, phenomenal. And they're translating a lot of them, so we'll eventually get there. So now I think people are looking back, and they're like, maybe we were unfair to Saturn. Maybe Saturn had some... I don't know, some of that weird, quirky Sega charm to it that you get the feel on Dreamcast as well. Because a lot of stuff in the PS1, N64, Saturn era didn't age well.
Wasn't this Sega's last jump to put a system to compete with the PS1 and the N64?
Yeah, that was there, and then the Saturn kind of didn't do its thing, and then they kind of jumped the gun early on Dreamcast.
Yeah,
they kind of had a short Saturn life. But, I think the Saturn was just a kind of a victim of price, victim of marketing, everything you could do wrong in a launch they did, which is unfortunate because I think as I get older, as I kind of look at what Sega offers, I'm liking the Sega offerings a lot more than I ever would have.
Yeah.
And I think this game kind of falls into that,
I'm looking at the release. They actually released Symphony of the Night, Castlevania Symphony of the Night for this in Japan, but never did it for the... Well, it had a good run. It had a really good run in Japan.
It did a great job in Japan.
It was there for looks like 2 solid years. They're making games for it. 3 years.
It just sucked over here. But
we got jack shit.
Yeah. So going back to Knights, right? So this thing was released in Japan in July of '96, and in North America we got it in August of '96. Now to kind of put that into perspective, Mario 64 came out over here in September of '96, and then Crash Bandicoot on the PS1 came over and was released over here in September of '96. So you've got Knights, Mario 64, and Crash all releasing right around the same time. 3 different systems, 3 different takes on what 3D would be. Like, what a crazy time this would have been.
Yeah, that's a lot. I don't remember it.
What fascinates me is all 3 kind of approach 3D. I mean, they didn't really have a rule book on what a 3D game was supposed to be. So with like Crash Bandicoot, yeah, there's some like 2D segments, but it's you're kind of running through a corridor. That's how what was it, Naughty Dog, I think?
Yeah, that was very corridor. Like, for PlayStation, like, PlayStation moved out to, like, the corridor, and for their 3D games, I think they didn't really express until, like, they got to, like, racing games, or, like, the battle racing / like, Resident Evil. And N64 did more, like, the cartoony, like, Mario style, like that kind of through all their games.
I think what happened is once Mario 64 came out, that was the one that said, okay, this is how 3D is going to work. And everyone just kind of adopted it, right? You've got Banjo, you've got
Donkey Kong was in there, right?
All the rare runs, Donkey Kong. I think Croc came out after Mario. Don't quote me on that, but you had Spyro. You had all these other games that kind of
Spyro did that.
Followed in Mario's footsteps. Like, okay, this is how this is going to work. But at the time, they really didn't have that. So, like, Knights is is kind of a different approach to 3D than the other two. It's kind of, the Saturn was good at 2D. It was really a 2D system that they later kind of stapled on 3D when they found out what others were doing. And you kind of feel that in Knights in that it feels like a 2D game that's expressed in 3D. But I'm jumping ahead. So this game, released on the Saturn, and then it was released again with an updated version in Japan on the PS2. And then it was had an HD release on the Xbox 360 and PS3. And finally, the version that we played had a Steam release as well. Again, this is a Sonic Team game. So some names that are going to ring a bell, and I'm going to butcher all of them except for one. Naoto Oshima. He's the original Sonic designer. You'll see his name on a ton of things.
Well, that makes sense, because if you really look at the designs of some of the characters, they do have that Sonic feel.
The one that rings a bell to me, Takashi Izuki is the designer. I mean, right up through Sonic Team as well. And then the other one, of course, is Yuji Naka. I mean, that's Sonic 2, you just kind of, you can tell this is a Sonic Team game. It has all the feels of Sonic. It kind of, So for example, there's a game that's coming out on Switch, PS5, 4, whatever, Xbox, Balan Wonderland or something like that, coming out soon. You look at it and you can instantly say, okay, I can tell Yuji Naka's involved in this. It looks like a Sonic Team game. It has the same colors, same kind of feel to it. Like, you just look at them and you know what it is. But do you guys know any of the background on what inspired them to make this game?
We had talked about that they had some dream analysis psychology behind it.
So, oh man, so like I went down a rabbit hole, and then where I came out of was I was like, man, this is a lot more. This is above our pay grade. We aren't smart enough for this, and by extension, that would mean our listeners aren't either. But it was inspired by Cirque du Soleil, so that's where you get your designs.
He looks like
the
it.
Jester. You get that. But they were inspired by sleep studies that they did, and it's also inspired by a lot of psychology, and that's where it gets above our pay grade. But they got reading a lot of Carl Jung, so there was this whole like animus concept with like when you're dreaming, there's the masculine version of a female's dreams, and then when a male dreams, he has a feminine portion of his dreams, and then there's the concept of the shadow, and it's like, oh god, this is heady shit. But psychology, Cirque du Soleil, dreams, that's how you get Knights.
I think they all stared at the Saturn 3D controller too long and got hypnotized into these weird, bizarre dreams, because that is the weirdest fucking controller I've ever seen.
Well, I've never held one, but if you look at how it's set up, it's basically, if you subtract two buttons off the face, it's the Dreamcast controller.
Yeah, but it's a circle, man. Like, it looks like they just took a Discman case and put Sega shit on it. Yeah,
that controller, that was one of my tidbits at the end, but they called that, when they were developing it, they called that the Spielberg controller. And the reason why is because when they were doing the game, Spielberg just like popped in.
What?
Why? And he was the first person outside of the Sega team to actually hold the controller and play the demo of Nights into Dreams. So from then on out, they're like, oh, it's the Spielberg controller.
Wow. I wonder what the hell he was doing there.
I have no. Imagine that you making a game like Spielberg just shows up, like, oh, hey, cool. I haven't been involved in anything since E.T., and we saw how that turned out.
Right? Jeez, man.
Wait, for the Saturn controller? I don't remember.
It came out with this game, right, Matt? Like the release of...
Oh, it's specific to this game. That's probably why I don't remember it. I don't think I ever had it. I had it because the actual Saturn controller comes with it. It looks like a regular Sega controller almost.
Yeah, so you have the regular 6-button Saturn, kind of like a fighter pad controller. And then for this specific game, and I think that controller came out after the N64, but they were like, yeah, we've got to do some analog for this, because if you tried to play this game on a standard pad without an analog stick, I think you'd wear your thumb off. Do you
I don't know
guys...
how comfortable that thing is.
The Saturn pad? I hear the stick is a little weird to get used to, but I hear it's comfy.
It looks like it could be... Like, it looks like it could fit pretty well. It's so round, and it has those... the way it has the like palm grips on there.
I bet it feels like the Dreamcast controller. You know, I know a lot of people hate that controller, which we've been over in our last episode, but like, I don't have a problem with it. So I think if you try to track down these pads, I don't know if they're expensive or not, but I don't know. I'd be interested to pick one up if it wasn't like super expensive, but I think it'd be comfy, to be honest with you. So do you guys know anything about the story on this one? And again, I didn't think there was much of a story until I sat down to do my notes, and I'm like, holy shit, I'm like a kid that's like prepping for a test in 15 minutes.
Yeah, I didn't know there was a story. I just went around in circles and gathered jewels and brought you a gumball machine that broke.
So you have no idea why you were doing anything.
None at all.
These kids, yeah, I think a little bit. I got a little context. These kids, the girl wanted to be a singer, right? And the boy wanted to be a basketball player, and they both had tough days, right? Like, she didn't do so hot in a performance, and he messed up in a game or in a tryout or something. So then they both like were filled with doubt, and they went to sleep, and the Nightmare sucked them in, right? I think what happened is everything you just said happened. So you had Elliot as the boy, and Clarice is the girl, and all that stuff happened. But it was happening at the exact same time that this guy named Wiseman the Wicked, he basically wants to take over the real world. Like, I don't know what, he's in Nightopia, which I think is like the subconscious world, maybe. I don't know. It's psychobabble bullshit, but he wants to take over our world, and what he ended up doing is he ended up creating a bunch of nightmare bad guys, and two of those bad guys were Knights and Rayala. And I think what happened was they're both jesters, and Knights kind of realized what's going on and tried to stop him. So he imprisoned Knights in this palace. And this is the exact same time that you have your bad day and you enter like this deep nightmarish sleep, and you end up in this world of Nightopia. Okay, so now we're getting into the weird stuff. So allegedly Nightopia exists because of it's like human energy is the reason why it exists. So when the kids come to this area, all these bad guys are stealing. They have these. It's like human energy. Are these different Ideyas? Not idea, but Idea apparently is how you pronounce it. Oh yeah, with a Y in there.
So there's a red Idea of courage, a white Idea of purity, a blue Idea of intelligence, a green Idea of wisdom, and a yellow idiom of hope. So like these kids show up in this nightmare world, and like these like bosses, these bad guys just come and they take all their stuff, but they can't take the red Idea of courage, the one thing they can't steal. So the kids go, and from there they can free Knights from this Idea Palace. They can dualize with him, which I think is basically they meld into one in this kind of weird concept where the kid and Knights becomes one. And Knights is able to temporarily, because of dualizing with them, able to be freed from the prison, and is able to help the kids regain their lost Ideyas, which have been captured and stored in this Idea capture device. That's that robot octopus looking thing that Nick was fighting.
Yeah.
And then from there, with you dualizing as knights, you can fly back with your Idea, bring it back to this Idea palace, and then eventually when you have all the Idea, you free knights, and knights can go fight the boss. So that's the story that makes no sense whatsoever.
There's a lot of extra stuff in there, that's for sure.
Yeah. So, and I think that kind of lends itself well into the gameplay. Do you guys want to jump into that? Nick, comments?
It's just, I don't know. Like, literally, so I beat the game within probably an hour and a half, 2 hours. Because it's pretty quick and simple through. And through the whole time, I'm like, okay, I just need to collect these orbs. And then I just need to grab along some of these creatures and go around them to turn them or circle them to destroy them. Okay, it was just like a self-discovery through the whole game.
If you had to, you ran into some stranger on the street and they said, hey, tell me about this Knights game, what genre would you even put it in?
I'm trying to think of what it is. Because all you do is go in a big loop, but you can change the directions depending on how you interact with certain environment items.
I guess a puzzle game?
There's no real... The thing is, there's not really any, enemies as well. Like, enemies are easy dodge. Like, they're not avidly talk. So it's kind of like I don't know. It's almost like a mobile game where you just collect stuff. A collection game, and you have to set it, and it's a racing because you kind of go in a circle and loops. You have to do it so there. Your time, I don't know.
It's kind of like an arcade racer. I think that's the closest thing. I don't know, John. What would you call this?
Puzzle racing.
Puzzle racing.
But there's not even puzzles in there.
You got to collect all the pieces.
Yeah, but you don't have to switch them around. You just literally just go around in circles. You literally can probably do it without even actually moving a controller and beat the game.
No, I'll take. I don't think that's the case. You could in theory beat a level doing that, but man, your score would be crap.
Yeah, I mean, some of
my
them
score
you
was
had
crap
to,
through the whole
you had
thing.
to break stuff open.
I did not get above a D.
Yeah, I didn't either. Well, I skipped
Are you
the
serious?
bonus mode. Yeah, I got D's.
All D's and F's.
All D's. So let's rewind a little bit. So the game is it's 3D, but it operates on a 2D plane. Like the camera basically spins around to give you the perception that you're moving in 3D, but really everything's in a 2D plane. Either you're overhead, you're looking face on, or you're looking from the side.
That threw me off sometimes, man, because it felt like some of those blue orbs were close, so you could just grab them.
Yeah.
I kept looping around, and I got pissed off because I was like, it's not getting it.
Yeah, so the orbs. So in order to break that octopus thing that Nick, again, was talking about, you had to capture 20 of these blue chips, I think is what they call them. And then once when you've deposited all the blue chips in the octopus, it blows up and you get your little thing. What gets me to this game is the game is absolutely terrible in explaining what it wants you to do, because it is different than anything that you've ever played. In that, if you see a timer, because you've got 120 seconds with knights before it all goes downhill, we can talk about that. You would think you want to get your shit and then get back to the palace as soon as possible. That's how every racing game, that's just how your mind is working. That is not what you want to do in this game. That is a recipe to get D's and F's, and it's frustrating as hell because you're like, wow, I did a good job. I did this very fast. Why am I failing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that really mattered. I was like, oh, okay, I get to the next level.
If it was on the way back, I would get it, the bonus points, but I didn't fly around a lot afterwards because I was terrified of being a human and having to make your way back on the ground and being slow and then something just killing you. So I thought because you said there's a clock that comes out, right, and chases you around, your alarm clock.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the game,
that thing was a pain sometimes.
We've only really talked about the movement with knights, but the game has a 3D component where you can play as the kids and you can run around. Like right off the start of the level, you can explore with the kids. And then if you run out of time, you turn back from knights into the kids and you can explore. But there's an alarm clock that chases you around. And I don't know, does it speed up as time? Like, can you just keep running around?
It starts like knocking you, like it starts like bopping you.
See, I avoided that like the plague. I have no idea that you even have hits after the clock gets you.
Yeah, then it goes like game over. Because I just left my controller there and wasn't paying attention to it. The next thing I know, like, oh, what's going on? I'm like, why is this alarm clock chasing me around?
Yeah. So, what you think you should be doing in this game and what you actually should be doing are two different things. So, what you want to do, or at least what I found, is you want to get your 20 blue chips as like quick as you can. Drop them off on your thing. Get your orb. The way the levels are set up, it's almost like a race car track. The levels are called mares, and each level has 4 mares, and just basically consider that 4 tracks or 4 loops.
Yeah.
Once you've blown up your squid, you want to fly around and do as many loops as you can and rack up as many points as you can before the time runs out. So you've got to almost pay attention to where you are. Like, you know, maybe it took me 30 seconds to do a whole loop before around the level. You know, maybe I don't have time to do another full loop to get stuff, so I'll fly around and catch stuff. You know, maybe I've got time to do a whole nother loop. Like, you just want to keep racking up points, you know, to jack up your score. Time isn't going to help you. Points are, I guess, is the way to phrase that.
Gotcha.
I know in the group chat you guys were not a fan of that idea.
It just like, I think it'd be better if there was some explanation at the beginning of what is happening. Like, it literally is like you fall asleep and the next thing you know you're right here and you're like, okay, what do I do? And you see knights this like spinning around into this like into this little like area here. So I'm like, oh well, maybe if I jump in like Mega Man, and I'll get a new ability. And I'm like, oh, I'm this character now. Oh, I fly around, and I literally just kept on flying. I discovered how to kill an enemy by just like grabbing hold of them and spinning around, and then zooming off, or flying around them. I guess that did it as well. I didn't really use the torpedo thing until I got to some like the bosses, like the spin thing.
Oh, so you want to just hammer on that spin because that's your boost. That gets you through the level because you want a motor to do as many loops as you can.
Yeah, but it's not explained through it, and I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna play this. Like, okay, let's see what happens.
I missed a ton of stuff when I did that drill.
Yeah, the levels are set up that you want to. It's like a racing game that you want to learn the course, I guess is the best way to describe it. Because, so another thing, the game has this concept of linking where you fly through different rings or you get different stars or you get the chips. And that's kind of like a multiplier for your points. You know, more things linked together, more points. So you spend a lot of your game like trying to fly through loops, do like tricks and stuff like that. You're right. It doesn't explain to you why you're doing it. It's just, it looks like it's something that you should be doing. I don't know. It does not. I did a lot better. So I played it on the computer and then I played it on the PS2. And on my second go through, I was crushing points. I was doing A's and B's on everything. But that's after I looked up online what I needed to do. You know, before that, it's like, oh man, why am I getting an F? Why did I get a D? I did a good job here.
Yeah, I thought I did too. It was.
Yeah, I mean, at the end I was getting C's, but like it was mostly like D's. I never got to like. It was weird because I'm like, okay, what's this? I didn't understand even the system. I'm like, what's this system for?
I think if the game had some kind of visual to show you how your score is, like a meter. You know, okay, I'm in F territory. I've got enough points. Okay, you got a D. Okay, now you've got a C. Maybe that would prompt you to say, all right, well, I guess this game, what it's running off is points. So instead of maybe going back, maybe let's rack up some more points before maybe time isn't what's benefiting me here. It's more collecting things. But there's like no visual cue. It's like you finish the level and you go, oh man, I got an F. What the hell did I do wrong?
Right. Yeah, I wonder what their benchmarks, if we could see those. What threshold you had to hit for what grade, you know?
Yeah. So as far as levels go, the game has 7 levels. 3 of them are with Elliot. 3 of them are Claris levels, and then they both have a level that's the exact same for both of them. What'd you guys think of the level design? Anything stand out? Any favorites?
Oh, I was actually a fan of like the it looked like a roller coaster level.
Oh,
that one was pretty fun.
One of Elliot's Stick Canyon.
Yeah, that was actually pretty fun. They're pretty nice looking. Like, I mean, I played maybe the updated version there, but I mean, graphically, it looked pretty good. And I mean, the polygons weren't horrible at all. And even I played the Saturn ones; the polygons on that wasn't very bad at all. It was decent for the time that I knew it came out of. I'm like, this is pretty decent. It wasn't blocky.
One of the things that gets me from this era, and I noticed this a lot on N64, is the frame rate is absolute trash, and it makes me want to like put my head through a wall. Man, this thing ran smooth. I mean, for the amount of crap that they were throwing around on the screen at a time, like this game was slick. I was impressed. Now, my computer could barely handle it. The Steam version, like it would bog down in certain parts, but I know it was my laptop. You know, when I tried to play the Saturn version, it like went right to a crawl. But then on the PS2 version, like this thing just like hummed right along. I'm like, all right. And I've seen videos of people playing it on actual Saturn hardware. Like it's slick. This game is smooth.
Nice.
Yeah. So Nick, you like Stick Canyon, which is one of Elliot's levels where it's kind of like a construction site.
Yeah, I started off playing him first, and played him. I'm like, oh, let's play him. Then I, switched over, played as her. It was fun. It's just like there's no like what's going on. There's no intro of like, hey, you're in this world. This is what you have to like. You know how games are now, like, okay, hey, you did this. This is how you do this. Or this is why you're doing this. This is like, hey, these characters are sleeping, and here you are. Decide how you're going to handle this level with actually never showing you what to do. You just kind of, I mean, I guess back then you would have the manual to, like, look at, but I, even back then, never looked at the friggin' manuals to see what's going on, ever.
I didn't even find the manual all that helpful. I mean, it kind of did some broad overviews, but it never did anything like, oh, after you get the thing, fly around and capture everything and get points. You know, it really
didn't tell you much.
It didn't. I didn't think so.
Nah, I liked Soft Museum, where you have to go through that secret door that's not a door.
That was my favorite level.
Yeah, and then you have to. There's like the mirror, and you can collect more things if you follow yourself in the mirror. Like there are the hidden rings and blue. What are they called? Blue.
Like blue chips.
Chips. That was it. Yeah. Yeah, that was
one
a fun
of the things
one.
I liked. All the levels were, I thought, pretty unique. They all had kind of like, again, it reminded me of a Sonic game in that, when I play a Mario game, I'm not shitting on Mario. I love Mario, but they reuse assets. For better or for worse, a lot of Mario levels, you can kind of swap them in and out. They're very similar. When you play a Sonic level, they're all radically different. And I kind of got that feel from Knights in that, Splash Garden on Elliot's End was much different than Soft Museum, was much different than Stick Canyon. Like, every one of these levels had kind of its own little gimmick to it. Mm-hmm. And they were not... I think Soft Museum was my favorite too, because I thought it was really cool. Like, as you bumped into things, the whole ground would distort. Like, I think I texted you, John. I don't know, because at the time I didn't think Nick was playing it because I hadn't heard from him. But
play it, you fuckers.
I was like, oh, this isn't Nick's gonna YouTube this one. This isn't happening. But I can't believe the Saturn pulled off some of that. I mean, maybe the PlayStation and 64 could have done it, maybe, but that whole effect with, like, you hit the ground and the whole level kind of, I don't know, shifts around you, like it implodes.
There were a lot of weird puzzles and things that you're just going so fast that you don't appreciate it, and you just kind of blunder your way through stuff. I don't know if that happened to you guys, but I think it's on that last level with Elliot where you're on a construction site and you have to go up like an elevator and those things drop down. I got hit by every one of them because I just wasn't paying attention.
Yeah, that tower was cool. That was a cool section where you had to like spin around the tower and fly up and dodge things.
I mean, you get to do a lot of discovery when you're the kids too, because you're like, and that's the other thing that when you were the kids, like it was kind of hard to know a frame of reference where you are. The thing that was helpful is having the GPS arrow always showing you where you had to go. But other than that, you could pretty much walk around anywhere in the game just by being with the kids.
That part kind of seemed unnecessary to me. I'm not saying it shouldn't be there. It didn't have a purpose, but maybe that the resources for that could have been used elsewhere. And that, once you run out of time, why don't you just wake up? Or why does the kid need to explore? Why don't they just instantly become knights?
Yeah, the whole kind of become knights and run back to knights to get to knights again, so you can then reach. Like I remember, I timed out when I first started playing, and I wasn't knights anymore, and I still had a couple chips to get. So I was running around being the kids, get the chips. Then I was trying to find where I'd become knights again, so I could get to the octopus candy gumball machine
Mountain.
To Candy Mountain.
I love the tangents we take sometimes with our comparisons.
Oh my god. I went on this like rabbit hole because Knights is androgynous in this game. They designed that on purpose because their thinking was like dreams don't really have a gender. So they're just like, you're playing as Knights. He's a jester, or I guess it's they, the pronoun, Nick, you found. But
they, them.
Yeah.
That's correct.
So, also can go by he, him.
It has all the genders. It has all the pronouns. But where the hell was I going with this? Oh, it's androgynous. It's androgynous. Yeah, so for some reason in my mind, like the whole time, like, oh man, I'm playing as David Bowie. So I don't know why I got that vibe, like, oh man, David Bowie's just like flying these. Maybe it's because I just got done watching the movie Labyrinth not too long ago.
Bowie has more masculinity than an androgynous being to me.
You got to watch some Ziggy Stardust stuff. Yeah. This is ground control to Major Knights. No. Anyway.
What do you guys think of the sound?
I liked it.
It was nice. It was fun.
Yeah, good soundtrack.
The soundtrack was amazing. Mm-hmm. What I typically do is when we have a game we're going to play that.
Sega doing good on a soundtrack?
Sega has killer soundtracks. I would never take that from Sega.
Besides Crystal Warriors.
That was fart noise.
Fart.
No, so the soundtrack though. So John, where I'm going with this is like when I'm at work, I'll tell and we're gonna play a game for that day. I'll download a couple of the songs from it. So I'm like, okay, I want to get a feel for the soundtrack, without like all the explosions and shit going on. So I'll listen to it at work. I could have listened to Soft Museum for like 30 minutes on repeat.
Yeah,
like that is an awesome track, but. That's when I was downloading the soundtracks was when I realized the whole Nightopian thing and that every level has 4 different songs to it, depending on the mood of the Nightopians. So these Nightopians are like these little like angel-looking fairy things that fly around, and you're going so fast you don't even pay attention to them. Like you wouldn't even know they were there. But depending on what you do in the level dictates their mood. And depending on what their mood is how the song, what the music will do. So they've got like 4 settings. They've got like happy, sad, scared, and angry. If like there's like eggs on the ground, if you go and you run into an egg and the egg pops open in front of them, they get all happy and the music, I guess the next time you play is going to be happy. But if you like paraloop, which is that loop you do where like all the stuff gets sucked into you like a vortex, that's how you kill them. So like the rest of them get sad. So the next time you'll have like sad music.
That's pretty nifty on the interactiveness though of the music,
right?
Like that's a detail that a lot of, not till now the game developers really put thought into.
How would you ever know that though? Because you're going so fast. You got 120 seconds. Like how would you ever know? Like I'm gonna go and I'm gonna make this little thing happy. This little like proto Tamagotchi.
Yeah. It was tough not to hit him, man, when you're looping to catch stuff. I killed a lot of them.
I drill dashed a bunch of them.
Yeah.
Like, they looked like bad guys to me, so I
Right?
just smoked them.
Yeah, I didn't pay attention to that.
So in this game, if you paraloop, it kills them. There's a level in the night sequel, which I can talk about a little bit, where you have to save them by paralooping, like they're getting sucked into a black hole, and you've just got to keep paralooping. And now knowing that the paraloop kills them, I look at that level, I'm like, wow, that could have been like a Nightopian genocide. Like, you're just flying around, just murdering these little fairies one after another.
And he's supposed to be the one in exile trying to defeat the bad guys.
Knights
you do kind of cause a genocide at the end.
Is that because the kids wake up, so everyone dies?
Yeah.
It's back to Zelda. It's the windfish.
Yep.
Oh, the windfish.
Side note, I listened to those episodes, John, not too long ago, for shits and giggles. And spoiler alert to anyone who listens to the Zelda episode, the first one, the one that you weren't on.
Oh, yeah.
John, were you high as fuck? Because I was drunk off my ass that episode.
Yeah, we got weird, man.
It shows.
We got real weird.
The second episode, and we're just like in the bag.
Oh, that was rough. I think I went on for like an hour and a half about each level, and I was just bitching about how dumb the Madeline guy was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Those are the days. So, did you guys get to see anything about the Christmas nights?
Just that it changed a lot.
I read the wiki. There's an intro, like it's like a little part game or something like that. Didn't go much to it.
It's in our version. You had to beat the game to get it. And I was trying to do that before we set up this call, and I was close. That goddamn construction site level is one that I cannot get a good grade in it. I just suck at that level. But it was originally released as like a demo disc. But the amount of just like batshit crazy stuff they threw into it was supposed to ramp up the sales in the Sega, but they like included it with like Daytona. I think in the UK they got it in a magazine. I can't remember how if we got it in bundles here, but it was just distributed in like a bazillion different ways. But it's the first level. It's Splash Garden or I think it was Splash Garden. It's either Splash Garden or Spring Valley, one of the two. All done up in Christmas get up, like Santa's there. But the amount of like crazy stuff that they threw into this demo disc is insane. Like, depending on the day you play it, it does different things. Depending on the time, it'll do different things. It'll change the weather effects. You can unlock a Sonic mini game where instead of fighting the big ball, Sonic fights, Dr. Robotnik as the puffy balloon singer dude that you fling through the walls. Like, just absolute craziness that they. This is a game that's just like so over engineered. There's just so much thrown into it that how would anyone ever know all that?
Yeah, they built a lot of levels into this. Some guy must have played. I mean, there's a lot of research and materials on this, like online. There were a ton of sites when I was going through to look at stuff. There was a lot of sources.
Yeah, I went into this. I'm like, I wanted something that was like quick and painless that I can kind of coast through. This is my coast week.
You can,
and
you kind of can.
But the thing is, like, when I was preparing for this episode, I just kept finding more and more stuff. I'm like, oh my god, this game actually has a story. For the guy that skips every cutscene that there is to skip. And then it's like, oh my god, you and I skipped the whole Tamagotchi thing. I didn't even realize that.
Nope.
And we never got to do the Christmas thing. I never got to play around with the changing music. I don't know. That was Nights. That was our first Saturn game. So, I guess closing thoughts. What'd you guys think of it as the whole? Would you recommend all that good stuff?
I mean, it was amusing, definitely. It just didn't really. It's a very short game, so I think that's the only thing. This is so weird, Matt. It's so weird. Like, I didn't get it. Like, I was just like, so I go in circles, I do this, and maybe I should have took an initiative on myself to like just like look up some stuff, but I was just like, no, I'm going into this like internet didn't exist during, no one would go on the internet in 1986 or 1996 when this came out to, find out stuff about it. They would just, you read the manual, find a game magazine. I'm like, okay, let's go about and do this. And like I remember going against the first boss. I'm like, okay, what do I do?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I grab on him like I did with other characters, and I toss him towards this opening.
What'd you guys think? Nick, that's a good tangent, though. We didn't get down. What'd you guys think of the bosses?
They were
easy.
Easy besides the cat.
Yeah.
The cat sucked.
The cat was a real... I couldn't figure out what to do with it, and I still really don't understand what I did.
Yeah. The cat and the fish were the hardest for me.
See, the fish was stupid easy. You just had to figure out which layer he was on, and then cling on to one of the side things. Just keep shooting yourself, and eventually he'll die.
Like the fish that shot you forward.
Yeah,
or like little fish.
I got hit though. Yeah. Like I hit the fish's ass, and like it deducted a bunch of points from me, or something. Like I kept getting hurt when I tried to hit him, but maybe that's just my terrible timing.
The cat one, was that the one like the mice that you bop?
Yep.
And you had to bop like the ones that were like glowing or had sparkles
he electrified
out
them. Yeah,
injure a cat.
I have no idea what hurt that thing. What did bopping the flashing mice do?
It gave you
that's
a
what
boost.
You think that's what hurt him. Like,
right?
I think it like I don't know.
Yeah, I thought it gave you a boost to catch up to him.
Yeah, because was he a one-hit kill?
He was.
Yeah.
So maybe the mice fling you? I don't know. I had a hard time with that one, and I just experimented and just kept ramming into mice, and eventually the guy died.
Yeah. That was hard, though, man. If you failed on the boss, you had to go repeat the whole course again.
I did not like that. Oh. And that did not get fixed in the Knights sequel.
Big detractor right there. Probably the worst feature of the game.
Yeah, because if you go and let's say you've done, you do a good job and you get A's on every course, you put in your best performance, and then you get to the friggin' cat level and you don't know to ram the mice for no apparent reason. Like, all that's gone. Your performance is gone. And I understand, like, yes, in level, sometimes, if you don't beat the boss, you got to go back to the start, suck it up. But I don't know. I thought it was pretty punitive, to be honest with you.
Mm.
Yeah, I as far as bosses go, I think my favorite was Jackal, the one that threw the cards at you.
Yeah, that was cool. And then fighting the other Jester, where you had to paraloop so we'd run into it, right?
That's how I beat him. I don't know how you're actually supposed to beat him.
Yeah, I just did you just dance with him, and then he just hits your stardust.
Yeah, that's pretty much all I did too.
Yeah.
And then
they were
I
all pretty
good. Wiseman was stupid easy. Wiseman was probably one of the easiest ones on there.
Yeah, because I didn't get good enough grades. He looks intimidating, but I mean, I guess you said he's easy.
You just fly back and forth and just dodge his stuff. I mean, there was not a whole lot.
It takes you through all the different elements, like boulders falling, the rainy, snowballs.
But you had to get good grades to get to that part, right?
You just had to have a C average.
Oh, okay.
Yep, every level you had to have a C.
Yeah. I did not understand that at first, the pinwheels of letters. I thought you had to match them up and then you get a bonus or something. I was like,
no, I did get C's at the end. I do remember getting C's. Like, the first time I was like D's and E's. Like, what's going on? Then, like you said, Matt, is when you ran out of time or you had that bonus time. I just ran around collecting everything as a kid.
Yeah. You know what I wonder? I wonder if this game was this the first Sega game that introduced a scoring system? Because like Sonic Adventure's got a scoring system like this. None of the Sonics before it did. So is this the thing that brought us the whole, A, B, C, D, E, and then what is it, S?
Well, you mean a scoring system like how you did grade?
Yeah, the grading that's... I don't think any of the Sonic...
Because you always had a score in Sonic games. Just
you had a numerical score, but not a grade.
Yeah.
I think that came from this.
Possibly.
Yeah. John, what'd you think?
I liked it. The gameplay was cool. Just a unique game itself, but I have to have more parameters when I go into a game. I'm definitely I don't pick up things quickly, so like it takes me a little bit, and that's not the case in this game. It just throws you in, doesn't tell you what to do. I don't think. So you're just like, bam, yeah, you got to start doing the stuff, and then all the other little things come into play, but you wouldn't know what to do unless you did some research or you played this game for a long time.
Yeah, I don't know how kids back in the day weren't, you go through the level and you get an F and you're like, you know what, fuck this, I'm out.
Yeah.
Unless your mom and dad paid $60 for it.
If you're telling me, like, this wasn't a game of the week, I would just definitely have quit easily. I'm like, because it was like, okay, I'm bored. Like, I got bored actually pretty quickly on this game.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I was bored.
Oh, Nick, hurt my soul.
I got nervous at the boss fights, man, because I didn't want to go back and repeat myself. That scared me.
Yeah, that sucked, and not being clear on what they wanted you to do.
Yeah.
I'll give you that.
Yeah.
I guess, I don't know. I call it Stockholm Syndrome, the fact that we were forced to play this because I picked it, because I wanted a Saturn game, but I think the more time I put into it, the more I liked it.
Yeah, I'd go back and play it now because I know what I'm doing.
It's so weird. There's nothing else like it. I mean, it's almost its own genre, an aeronautical, acrobatical racing game gem thing. I don't know how you describe it, but there's nothing else like it. And our lives are just complete and utter shit shows. So a game that's very pick up and play like this, go fast, collect stuff. Okay, I'm played 15 minutes. I'm going to go do something else. Like that's perfect for our life. That and 2020 was like the worst year in history, other than like the 500s. That plague or whatever went around. And 2021 is like, I would say, interesting. Not as bad as 21, but definitely a shit show. So a bright and cheery game like this, like. There's nothing negative. The game is not negative at all. It's happy. It's syrupy goodness, sugary sweet. Music is fantastic. It runs great. I don't know. As time went on,
you know what? What made it great? It was free on Steam.
Yeah.
I love how that's the second time you've made that comment, that the game was free, so it gets a pass in your book.
Gets a pass. Can't be free.
The Frugal Meister.
No, I guess to close out my comment on this, I would recommend if people can get their hands on this, cheaply or for free, like we did, if you didn't miss the boat when Sega gave out that deal on Steam.
Yeah.
Give it a try because there's nothing else like it.
It's unique for sure.
And I would say if you like Sonic at all, you can see Sonic's DNA, gross, all over this. That was for you, Nick.
God. No, thank you.
So,
thank you.
That concludes my game of the week. Now, I think, don't quote me on this, John, are you next?
I think I'm next, yeah.
What is it, John? What is it? Tell us.
We, by way of a guest cameo pick, are going to play Star Wars Pod Racing on the Nintendo 64. I left it up
I messaged
to
my friend. I think I can actually get a live copy for this now.
All right.
Oh, has he got a copy?
He does. Because this is the only way I played. I played at his house. And he's in Taiwan right now. And I got to see... I'm hoping he's like, yeah, go ahead. Go to my parents and pick it up. So, yeah, 34-year-old's going to go to their friend's house and like, hey, do you remember where this stuff is?
I think you should plug the podcast. Now, listen here, mom and pops. Please go to and subscribe.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's my old history teacher, and it was his dad, so we'll see how this goes.
They'd be like, you should have studied harder, Nicholas. This is not the life choice for you.
No, not at all. Oh, God. This will be fun.
So, Well, good stuff.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
Yeah,
I'm
looking
excited.
forward to it. Another 64 game. Will be better than my last 64 game pick. That's just a fact. So,
Well, seeing as I know this one already, I can guarantee that.
yeah, we've all played a little bit of this game, and I left it up to our...
It was our first racing game, too. Real racing game.
Yeah.
An actual
Not
true
match shit.
form
Not
racing.
match shit.
Yeah. Not this Japanese take on racing. What is this? Androgynous jesters? No.
What was that quote
Matt's being woke over there.
Anakin says, now this is pod racing, and it's become a meme? God, that poor
God.
kid.
Oh, man. We're going to make so many offensive Star Wars jokes. It's not even going to be funny.
Can't wait.
We gotta try to
wait.
get our fourth host on, because this was his pick. And we've been talking with him.
We've got to figure out how to get,
Our international host.
Yeah. Time
we gotta
zone's going to be tricky.
I think it, yeah. I
Well, he's
think,
only an hour behind us.
Well, he hosted a little, like, some sort of Zoom game for his birthday, right? And it started at 10 p.m. Eastern time, and he's out like 2 time zones away. So all him and his Canadian friends were all hanging out, and by the time they got around to a game, I fell asleep at my desk.
That's just because you're old,
It
John.
was like midnight. I'm like, guys, I gotta call it.
just a shitty old man.
So tired.
Well, that's because you're living the father lifestyle. You've basically aged, like they're still living in their youth, and you've aged 20 years. You guys live worlds apart.
I have gotten so lazy. I have not ran or done a workout in months, and I think that's contributing to it. Because I was pulling some crazy work hours in the heyday in my late 20s, and I was way less tired than I am now. But I think the sedentary thing is catching up with me, you know?
It gets me as I'm yawning into the mic. Yeah. No, it's no good.
No.
It is no bueno. I like the joke we made in our group chat of how we traded, high excitement, high activity hobbies for benign, non-dangerous, safe hobbies as
Right.
you get older.
Yeah, I sold my motorcycle jacket to buy a Retroid. Like, yep, that happened.
That is life now for us, right?
Hey, the full marathon before I'm 40 can still happen.
You can.
Yeah.
No, I think as soon
I'll
as
be on the sidelines eating my candy bar as I watch it, rooting you on.
I appreciate it.
you're doing good, John. You're doing good.
Keep it in there.
Well, that does it, Nick. You wanna take us out?
Yeah. So obviously, don't forget our socials: Spin-Retro on the Twitter and the IG, the Instagrams, as the kids call it, right? Matt is a social media whore on those things. He's doing a great job because I haven't contributed anything. Actually, all I do is like, hey, Matt, here's some pictures. You should put these up. And that's pretty much my contribution.
I've taken it off the OnlyFans. Put it up on this. Give them a sample.
We need some. We might still start the OF, right? Get the OF going. Fans only for John. Also, please subscribe. You can get us on anything Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, anything but Spotify at the current moment.
Fuckers.
Oh, douche nozzles. But leave comments. If you have complaints, send them to John. He loves them. And yeah, just let us know what you guys like and what you don't. Thank you so much for him. And I think that's a good night for us all, boys, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Good night, everybody.
Fucking later.
Ba, 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 da. Ba, da, ba, da.